What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we continue our post-spring power rankings here with the Big 12, and we're going to start at the top, and we're going to break this down kind of into tiers. So the top tier for me is Oklahoma State and Utah. I do think there's a little bit of separation between these two teams and the next group of teams in the Big 12. Not saying that these two teams are guaranteed to both make the Big 12 championship, but I would be very surprised if at least if both of these teams did not get in. I think at least one of them gets in, and then perhaps one of the other teams in that next tier can sneak in there if one of these teams stumbles a little bit. But I think these are the two best teams, and I think, again, it's pretty clear when you look at the rosters. We'll start with Oklahoma State, a team that I'm very high on. A ton of experience coming back offensively, really no question marks. I think they're going to be very good on that side of the ball. Defensively, someone pointed out in another video how their pass defense was bad. I actually don't think it's the secondary. I think it's the defensive line. They've got to get a little bit more of a pass rush this year if they're going to maybe get to the Big 12 championship, because that's a weakness for this team, the defensive line. And I think it's really the only weakness on this team. I think they've got the best linebacker group probably in the Big 12. And again, an offense that has a ton of production experience coming back. Utah is very similar. They also have a ton of experience coming back. Offensive line, cornerback position, areas where they're not maybe elite, but they're very good and very solid across the board. Cam Rising coming back, of course, the big news there for Utah. And if he can get back to his old form, this team should have a great shot at getting to the Big 12 championship. But again, if one of these teams stumbles, I think this next group is where you're going to see a team get into the Big 12 championship game. I think it's going to be Kansas, West Virginia, Kansas State, or Arizona. I think those are the next group of teams. I know a lot of people are really high on Kansas State. I'm not as high on that team. We'll start at the top, though, with Kansas. This is a team that, again, I think I've got them number 3 here in the Big 12. I really like what they've got coming back on offense. If Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, that's the big key there. Their cornerbacks are probably maybe the best in the Big 12. Where I'm concerned about them is the linebacker position, really the whole front seven. If they go up against a really good running team, a team that can run the football really good, I think that could be a problem for Kansas. But everywhere else, I think this team is very solid. West Virginia right behind them, a team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. I think their front seven should be good. I think maybe the opposite of Kansas. Maybe it's the secondary that is a little bit of a concern. And wide receiver, tight end position, who's going to step up there for West Virginia? That is also a concern. Kansas State, again, this is a team that really isn't bad anywhere, but are they really great anywhere? It's really just about how well they're coached, because talent-wise, this team is probably really actually lower than where I've got them ranked. We just know that Chris Kleiman's a great coach, and they're coached really well. Running back position going to be the strength for Kansas State. Again, everywhere else they're pretty good, but I wouldn't say they're great anywhere else, and that's why I think their ceiling is a little bit lower than some of these other teams. But again, I still think Kansas State is a team that can get to the Big 12 championship. And then Arizona here at number 6. Lost their coach, and I know some people think that's not a big deal, but I do think that it is. Offensively, they should be very explosive. Defensively, defensive line not very good coming back. I would say maybe even worse than Oklahoma State's. And then the secondary, I think there's also some question marks there. So I think this is a defense that will not be elite, but I think they'll be okay. I think they're going to rely on their offense, and this offense is going to be able, I think, to outscore most teams. And if they can get a little bit better on defense, perhaps they can get to the Big 12 championship. But like I said, if Oklahoma State or Utah, if one of those teams stumbles just a little bit, I think it'll be one of these 4 teams that gets into the Big 12 championship to play that other team. But like I said, I really feel like Utah or Oklahoma State, if not both of those teams, will get to the Big 12 championship. All right, our next tier of teams, TCU, UCF, Iowa State, and Colorado. These are teams that I think can have a really good season. I don't know if any of these teams, I wouldn't say that they're going to have much of a chance to get to the Big 12 championship, but they could, be 7 or 8 win teams potentially. But then on the flip side, we could see any of these teams maybe miss out on a bowl game. So that's kind of where I am with this group. We'll start with TCU at number 7. I like what they've got coming back, really across the board. No major concerns. The wide receiver position really strong for them. The linebacker unit is going to be very good, and they're solid everywhere else. Again, not elite, but this should be a good team. UCF behind them. I really like their weapons on offense. I think this team will be really good there if the offensive line can step up. That's the concern for them at least on that side of the ball. And then on defense, they've got a really strong defensive line. Their safeties are strong, but the cornerback position, that's another area where I'm concerned. So UCF, if they can get, take care of that offensive line and the cornerback position can step up, this is a team that could maybe even be a team that could sneak into the Big 12 championship. Again, I'm putting this tier in a tier that, I'd say they probably won't get to the Big 12 championship, but not going to say it's impossible. They're just, the group before this, those are your contenders. These are your dark horses. So Iowa State number 9, a lot of production coming back. The talent maybe is not there, again, compared to some of the other teams, but offensively, plenty of production coming back. Defensively, linebacker unit, I'm a bit concerned about them there, but they should be pretty good. And again, a lot of experience, a lot of production for Iowa State coming back. And then there's Colorado, again, one of the more interesting teams. You look at their starters, and Colorado's starters, I think, can match up pretty much with anyone in the Big 12. They're really solid, except for the running back position and the offensive line. Everywhere else, they're really solid. Now, those are concerns. Are they going to, will they even try to run the football? They've got no quality running backs. The offensive line, again, I think is going to struggle, but you can't be one-dimensional. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but again, it's one of those teams that they've got some things you really, really like about them, but then some concerns as well. If they can take care of the concerns, Colorado can have a really good season. If the concerns wind up being a problem, they could miss a bowl game. So it could really go either way, and I think that's the case with these 4 teams. And then we'll go to our next tier, Texas Tech, Houston, and Baylor. Teams that I think have a chance to get to a bowl game, and I think that'll be a solid season for them. But again, it's going to be tough. We'll start with our number 11 team, that's Texas Tech. You look at the offense, they should be pretty good. Really good running back unit. No major concerns for them on offense. I think they'll be solid. And then on defense, their starters, kind of like Colorado, their starters are going to be pretty solid, but they really lack depth on defense. And circling back to Colorado, I was talking about their starters. They do have a depth issue. They do not have a lot of depth. And again, that's kind of the same story here with Texas Tech. So we got Texas Tech at number 11, Houston at number 12. This is a team that they just lost a really good receiver in the transfer portal, but overall offensively, I think they'll be good. I love the new coaching hire. I think they're going to be, long term they're in really good shape. Defensive line, maybe another spot where they're going to struggle, but this is a team that again is not going to be great, but I think they'll be pretty good. And then Baylor at number 13, they've got a lot of production coming back. Really good receivers, really good running back group. You look at the offensive line and defensive lines as areas where I'm a bit concerned, and you never want to struggle on the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball. So that is a bit of a concern, but everywhere else looks pretty strong for Baylor and a lot of experience coming back. We will see. DeQuan Finn, I forgot to mention him at quarterback. What's he going to do at the Power 4 level? Was really good at Toledo. If he goes out there and is plays really good because he's got better players around him, Baylor could be a sneaky team. I think all 3 of these teams could be sneaky good, 6, 7, maybe even 8-win teams, but it could easily go the other way as well. And then our final tier, these are the teams I think are really going to struggle to get to a bowl game: Arizona State, BYU, and Cincinnati. Arizona State, they've got some weapons on offense at the running back position. That's going to be that's going to be their strength. But the passing game, maybe some question marks there. You look at the defense. I like their defensive line, but everywhere else, I think this team is really going to struggle defensively. And then for BYU, they're going to be really young this year, playing a lot. They're going to be playing like more freshmen than maybe they've ever played. And I don't know about the passing game, the quarterback position. Defense should be okay, but it's just a team that's not going to be very good, in my opinion. Then Cincinnati, kind of the same story. What will the passing game look like for them? Defensively, not very good and really lacking depth there. So I think these teams, again, will struggle to get to a bowl game. And they, to me, clearly are that bottom tier of the Big 12. So what do you guys think about the Big 12? Give me your thoughts and your power rankings down in the comments below.